We've discussed many times before how seemingly separate, unrelated events, institutions, and ideas are actually all part of the same invisible global government, which seeks to manipulate public opinion through innumerable strategies of social engineering and psychological warfare. This shadow network of people with staggering multi-generational wealth occupying positions of power have, for decades, persistently attacked and debased us, psychologically, spiritually, socially, and physically. We have volumes of evidence proving beyond doubt that such an alliance exists, and we know who is behind it. We know the methods they use and have used for decades, if not centuries, and we have them in their own words, telling us their plans for us. The societal diseases we can currently diagnose have been in manufactured metastasis for years. In medicine, the study of iatrogenesis refers to the adverse effects caused not by illness, but by the interventions employed in the treatment of illness. None of this is accidental. What we are witnessing is the end result of the iatrogenic death of Western civilization. It is no wonder that in such a reality we often see the social and cultural landscape altered suddenly, dramatically, and far from being the organic groundswell it may seem to be, what we are really experiencing is carefully crafted conditioning by the cadre of international capital. In 1947, these forces set forth several organizations and institutions for the purposes of mass opinion engineering. It was in this 1 year alone when the Kinsey Institute was founded in April, and the CIA and the Tavistock Institute were founded within 2 days of each other in September. All three organizations were covered in Rothschild and Rockefeller fingerprints, armed with Bernaysian propaganda weaponized against us, and would proceed for the next 73 years to declare war on Western civilization on countless offensive fronts. Though seemingly separate organizations with seemingly unrelated ideas, they all have one thing in common aside from their origin, of course, and that is, simply stated, mind control. Mass social engineering meant to mold the minds of men to suit their evil intentions. Most people think that brainwashing is something that could only be administered by madmen in a POW camp or in underground laboratories like in Clockwork Orange. And there's a reason we have such images in our minds, and that reason is brainwashing. Most people seem to live their whole lives in near total obliviousness to the ways in which their thoughts and actions are governed by this illusory entity. And as I've said before, the worst prisons are the ones where the inmates can't even see the bars. I used to wonder why everything always seems so strangely similar. Everywhere you go, it's the same TGI Fridays next to a CVS pharmacy, next to a GameStop, next to a Target with a Starbucks inside, across the street from a Walmart with a McDonald's inside, while all our modern homes and our apartment buildings look the same, our neighborhoods, our city centers, our skyscrapers. Why the same political parties all spout the same empty rhetoric that gets repeated with rallying regularity, while all the movies are remakes and reboots of the same old tired tropes. Why every school book sells us the same sanitized story of history. Why people's forms of self-expression are such familiar facsimiles. Why modern music is the same formulaic, mumbled mishmash, written by the same small group of people. Why there are so many people who seem as they're just central casting stock characters, each playing the role of the hero in their own movie. The same people picking and choosing character traits of their favorite media personas to assemble a carefully crafted pseudo-personality. Why all these news reporters and media personalities all speak the same way, using similar inflections and tone of voice. I've seen it everywhere this past year, and many of you have remarked in the comments on the street interview videos that I've done just how remarkably similar everyone's opinions are on certain current events and election issues. How so many people have come to be so convinced that completely contrived pseudo-events and phony issues of concern are of such elevated importance. How do you think this all happens? One of the most striking things about the past 10 months, at least for me, has been the dramatic changes to our lexicon and the way they've tinkered with language. Not only have masks drastically altered human interaction, but the newspeak neologisms they've prescribed for us have changed the ways we speak with one another. The new normal. We're all in this together. I can't breathe. Essential workers. Social distancing, flatten the curve, lockdown, just to name a few. The Great Reset has brought with it a great renovation of the words and phrases we are encouraged to use, and the many others that we are told to relegate to the dustbin of history. All Tavistock techniques have a single goal: to break down the psychological strength of the individual and render him helpless to oppose the dictators of the New World Order. Any technique which helps to break down the family unit, as well as family principles of religion, honor, patriotism, and decency, has been and will continue to be used by Tavistock social scientists as weapons of mass control. Not coincidentally at all, nearly the exact same aims are declared in the 11 objectives of the Frankfurt School, the 45 declared goals of the Communist Party, the Jaffe Memo, the Biderman Report, Black Lives Matter, Antifa. In fact, it could very well be argued, and there would be sufficient evidence to support the supposition that nearly every single mass movement in the past 100 years has been nothing more than a psychological operation. From zero population growth to veganism, to climate change and global warming, feminism, the civil rights movement, the sexual revolution, the counterculture movement of the 60s along with LSD, the Beatles, the Grateful Dead, the new atheist movement, transgenderism, gangster rap, all of it has been planned for us. Participants in these movements, these brave new Bolsheviks, they all think of themselves as revolutionaries in rebellion against the system, against the man, when in reality, they're thinking, saying, and doing exactly what they're told. In Tavistock Institute of Human Relations, Dr. John Coleman states, quote, "The level of propaganda is so high, so all-encompassing, that social scientists count on it to be the totality of American life, and as a result of sustained propaganda, life has become a simulation, and this simulation will soon be substituted for reality," unquote. Brings to mind another buzz phrase we've heard often over this past year: the term invisible enemy, referring ostensibly to the virus of which we've all been told to be so fearful. But every day, more people are seeing the truth and breaking free of the simulation, waking up to what the real invisible enemy is and has been all this time.